Salvation Sundays, Enoch 7 Prophet. How y'all feeling? Y'all good? Hopefully everyone is well. Welcome to Salvation Sundays. We're in June. We had last month's episodes and things went well, and we thank everybody for tuning in and sharing and liking and things of that nature. Also, I'd like to extend my, this is June, my July schedule for those who, if you know anyone who's an entrepreneurial black woman who has an entrepreneurial spirit, that has a story to tell about how they got to their entrepreneurial spirit, send her my way. Let her click the link in the bio. The drop down window would drop down. In that drop down window, you would see Salvation Sundays. You'll see Mental Salvation Radio, which I'm bringing back soon. I'm always saying that, but I'm gradually getting there. All right, and Salvation Sundays. Click Salvation Sundays. Click that link. It will bring you to a Google screen. You will have to put in your Gmail information, right? Put in your email information, password. It'll bring you to a form. You'll fill out their form. You'll pick 2 days in July in which you are available. And between those 2 days, I'll see which one of those days are available on the schedule. I'll pick one of those days. I'll send you a confirmation email about what day that was sent, that you're scheduled on. And voila, that's it right there. Big up to Vanguard Television, who is in the chat room. Big up to Confident_Albinos. We're going to be talking to today Confident_Albinos, who is Qiyamah Muhammad. She is one of our second youngest guest to bless Salvation Sunday, and we welcome her so much. We're going to give an opportunity for more people to jump in on the live. So, with all that being said, let's see here. Also, not only is today June, we're just creeping through the summer. The summer's coming up. We're getting there. But June is International Albinism Awareness Month. Now ask yourself, do you know things about albinism? Do you have friends who are a part of the albinism community? Right? Do you have friends? Do you have family? Do you have loved ones? Do you, like me, growing up as a child, I had one friend. His name was Ben. Ben was Korean. Ben, being Korean, had albinism, right? I didn't know as a child what that was and how to explain it. Like, I didn't understand. We knew Ben was cool. We knew Ben was different from us. One day we realized how different Ben was, is that we were playing football in the daytime. It was day, the sun was popping, everything was going well, everyone was having fun, and we were playing football. And Ben, he always wanted to be either Dan Marino or, he always wanted to be Dan Marino from the Miami Dolphins. I mean, he might have been from Miami. I'm not too sure. But he always wanted to be Dan Marino, right? And Ben would throw the ball. You know, he was a great quarterback. But when Ben became a receiver and wanted the ball and we're throwing the ball at Ben during the daytime, Ben was not catching the ball. And we're like, yo, Ben, you're better off being a quarterback, yo, dude. Like, but then as it got darker, dusk, we still playing football, Ben started catching the ball. We didn't, as children, we didn't understand what that was. I know I understood what it is now as growing up. But back then, as children, we didn't know. We wasn't mean to Ben or anything. We just like, yo, Ben, why are you not catching the ball? Like, what's going on, right? So, think about your childhood. Who have you met in your childhood that was a part of the albinism community? That was black part of the albinism community, right? Right? And a lot of people think that some persons with albinism aren't black, or, you know, they have their own conceptions, pros and cons. And what we're going to do, we're going to jump into Sister Qiyamah Muhammad, my niece. She is the daughter of Angela and Anthony Muhammad, who I like to call him Brother Ato, the hip hop historian. And Sister Angela was one of the guests on Salvation Sundays, right? So let's get big up to Jay Robinson. How you doing, Jay? Big up to is that Sin Bless 411? That might be mother-in-law. I think. All right, let's jump right into it. Let me see if I can pull Sister Qiyamah on. I'm gonna send her an invite. Go live with Confident Albino. As I listen to my jazz, something, Instagram can't block my jazz, you feel me? Peace.
Peace.
How you doing? You getting it together?
All good.
It's like all good. All right. Now, if you need to get it together more, like to set up your camera more, you can definitely do that. You can log out and then see if you can get your camera together and then log back in if you want.
I think this should be fun.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, look, today and this month and every day is a special day, right? Every day is a special day. But this month in particular is International Albinism Awareness Month, right? And we are talking to Sister Qiyamah Muhammad. I watched this young lady just grow into a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful being. And before we even get into that, I would love for you to introduce yourself to reintroduce yourself to the Mental Salvation Radio family, and then reintroduce yourself to your supporters and to your family as well.
Okay. Well, good morning, afternoon, night, whichever time it is, to Mental Salvation Radio. My name is Qiyamah Muhammad. I am the founder and CEO of Confident Albino Brothers and Sisters. And to my followers, peace and blessings.
Beautiful. Now, let's jump right into it because this is a special month, but you're a special being regardless of you're a special being overall, right? And I want to just dive into a couple of things. Big up to everyone who's in the chat room right now. Big up to Sherry. Big up to Pranoia Starsy Podcast, and big up to Albino_Princess. Big up to you, and I believe that's Monique P 1865. Thank you for tuning in. So let's start from the beginning, right? Young woman, have a life in front of you, future in front of you, things of that nature. So let's start from the beginning of your story. Let's start from tell us a little bit about yourself. Do you have brothers? Do you have sisters? I mean, I know these answers, but people don't, you don't know these answers. Now, do you have a brother? Do you have sisters? Are you the youngest? Are you the oldest?
So I do have an older brother. He's about 4.5 years older than me.
Uh-huh.
And he's, what you call melanated, so he's not albino.
Okay. Yeah, big brother. So growing up in the household with a big brother, and of course, big brothers always give little sisters, the business. Always like, don't do that, do this. I'm in charge when mom and dad leaves the house, things of that nature. But how was it growing up with a big brother? What was that feeling like? Because some of us may not know what it feels like to grow up with a big brother or to have a big brother.
Well, when you were talking about how older siblings are usually the ones say, do this, do that. It's funny because it felt like it was kind of reversed. Not like I was the boss or anything, but like I would, since I'm the youngest child, I would, give my brother Assad Muhammad, like just give him the hardest time sometimes. But all all in all, we're siblings, and
Yes.
we still cool. We like this,
Right.
like
Right. Sometimes you have that sibling, like, thing that people, it's natural. It's natural. No matter if one is albino and the other one's melanin, it doesn't matter. Like your brother and sister, so you may bump heads here and there every once in a while, right?
mm-hmm.
Now, growing up in the household, I want to ask you this question: were your family, what you know of growing up, was your family always Muslim? Were they always a part of the Nation of Islam? As you're seeing your parents and your brother, were you always in that culture, were part of that community?
Yes, ever since I was born into the nation. Because my parents, they were in the nation since my brother was born, actually.
Mm.
Um, so me and Asad, we grew up with the nation. We knew like all about this culture and this way of living.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay, okay. Now, being in the home, being the youngest, growing up in the culture, growing up in that community of the Nation of Islam, which is a beautiful community and a beautiful people within that community. Growing up within that culture, how was your school? How was school like? Were you homeschooled? Were you going into public school? Like, what was your educational background like growing up?
oh, um, so I kind of went through all of it. I was homeschooled, went through private school with the with the school that the Nation of Islam um like presides over, which is Muhammad University of Islam,
Uh-huh.
and went to public school. So I was in online school even. So
Oh, okay. Now, was that choice made because of the school system, or because mom decided, hey, let me give you the lessons first, let me school you first, and then able to just put you out into the world, so to speak, and you're able to function in a way. How was that?
what was the question again? Sorry.
I said, how was it, did mom decide to homeschool you because of she wanted to mold you and shape you with the education that was meaningful and that was purposeful, and then, put you out into like the public school system and things of that nature? Like, do you know what the motives were of being homeschooled?
Um, well, with homeschooling, that was when I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
So um that was before even like first grade and all of that. So that was just mom teaching me basically like the basics.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Got you.
writing and like reading. Um,
Mm-hmm.
before I went to um MUI, Muhammad University of Islam.
Uh-huh.
Um, like to kindergarten through second grade, and then I went on to public school.
Okay. Okay. Now, here's the obvious question that a lot of people may have in the back of their minds or in the front of their minds, and they don't know how to ask.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to ask the question of, how did your mom and dad, um, how did your mom and dad teach you that, or show you that you were different before you realized that you were different than your brothers, that you were different than your mom, that you were different than your dad, you were not the same melanated complexion as them? Number one is, when did you realize that? Number two, how did your mom and dad help build up that confidence in you, to let you know that, hey, you're no different than anyone else?
So, the first question was, when did I realize?
Yes.
Um, so that's kind of a hard question. It's like, I guess in the back of my mind when I was a young child, I kind of always knew I was different. Because I had to be like slathered with sunscreen or shea butter to protect me from the sun,
Uh-huh.
or umbrellas and all of that, so so that I wouldn't get sunburned. And even just growing up in predominantly black communities, and like, seeing comparing myself um like my skin color to my to the brothers and sisters in the community.
Right.
But I guess that kind of goes into the second question with
Uh
mom
huh.
and dad. Um, they um um it's like it wasn't really like much of a topic of conversation when I was younger.
Uh huh.
Um, but and never really like, I guess in my mind I never like thought or heard the word like albino or albinism
Uh
like
huh.
much like that.
Right.
Um, but of course they would tell me, and
Mm-hmm.
I did the research and everything on different types. But
Okay.
and they just being in the Nation of Islam and all of that, that really did help to build my confidence as well. So just being around my family and my friends, it's just, since I'm like really shy.
Yes, you are. It's okay. It's all
I
right.
don't know if
It's all
anybody
right.
noticed that.
Yeah.
But
You get it from your mom. You get it from your mom. You get it. It's okay. It's okay. You love to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. I get it. I get it. But I mean, I'm glad you're here to, share your story, because this is a story that needs to be shared. This is the not even talking about that it is, International Albino Awareness Month. Not even be getting into that, because that's just a month. We're talking about 365 days of your life, living as an albino or having albinos, like just living throughout your way. And people may think, oh, she's white. Oh, well, I don't know if she's black or not. Like listening to these conversations I may hear, maybe out and about in the streets, or having conversation with friends and things of that nature, and having you here, it's a beautiful thing, because now people who have questions or misconceptions of those who have, or who is an albino or have albinism, we want to get those straight now. Like you mentioned, there are different types of those who have albinism. Can you explain to us what those different types are, that we, as those who may not know, what those types are?
I definitely can. But before that, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to share my story.
Right. I love you. You was going to be on here regardless. I was going to try to figure out how we was going to get you on here, and I realized that we got you on here for this month. And I tapped into you for some of your followers, and some of your friends and family that's in that community, to come on the show too. And that's how we built up this International Albinism Awareness Month, because of you, because of the people that you knew that was able to do this, do this platform and come on to share their story. And I think that's beautiful of you, to be able to touch so many people, whether you know or not know, and then tap into a community that some of us can't even tap into. And I say it like this because I knew someone who did sign language, right? And they invited me to come to that particular school that's, I think it's on Florida Avenue. I can't think of it right now. That's for the hearing impaired. She invited me out there and she said, well, when you come out there, they may give you a nickname, because if they give you a nickname in that culture, then you're really cool. Like, you're really cool with them. They may say, oh, Enoch with the beard. They may go like this, or they may go like that for red hair. But once you get in that community, you're part of that community now. They feel like you're no threat to them and things of that nature. So I applaud you and thank you so much for allowing Mental Salvation Radio and myself to tap into your community of friends and family. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Just glad I was able to be given this chance to be able to do all of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, explain to us what types of um, albinos are there? Like, what are are there categories? Because I don't know.
Um, so I haven't recently done deep dived into it again, but
Uh huh.
when I did, um, from what I've seen, it's different types different types of albinism. And even when like on my own show, That's What's Up with Qiyamah Muhammad, I had a guest and he even told me that there's different levels of albinism
Uh huh.
that might not be so obvious. Um, but
Ah.
from my own research, I found out, at least the type that I have, it's OCA2, which is ocular cutaneous albinism type
Uh,
2.
mm-hmm.
And that mostly is in the Black community. So,
Got you.
um, and it's like OCA, then OCA2, OCA3, and even OCA4. And those are the types that are in other different communities. So it might be like specific Asian
Uh huh.
communities, and that's OCA3, I think.
Okay. So it's not just, for those who have been wearing our ignorant glasses for so long, I'm thinking it's just one type,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to figure out if, in my mind, I have to figure out, okay, is this sister, this is a brother. Let me hear them talk. Let me see their mannerisms. Like, oh, that's a brother. Like there's the rap artist. It causes it's Ali, I
Right.
believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, brother Ali. And I had to for years I had to realize is he white? Is he black? And then I realized one day that that's a white brother. But he is in the Muslim community. He has a black wife. So now I have to pay attention. But so now we know that there are different forms
Mm-hmm.
of albinism that are in different ranges of in our communities, in the community. Like for the black community, as you mentioned, there are that particular what would you call it? Would you call it um, like how would you explain that type? Do you call it a chemical? Do you call it like what would you call it that way that for those of us who don't know those terms, how would we describe it?
Um, well, overall, albinism, people nowadays, they would say it's a condition,
Uh-huh.
but um, Minister Louis Farrakhan, he mentioned in an event that I had helped to host, he had mentioned um, in that event that it's a trait. So it's just a gene that's in the parents who may or
Mm-hmm.
may not be carriers of the gene,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll go into the child, and they might end up having albinism or may not, as with me and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother, he's a carrier of the gene, but he doesn't have albinism.
Uh, uh,
And I'm
uh.
also a carrier of the gene, which is kind of obvious.
Right, right.
So
So, so,
just
so, so, do you mean that once that time comes, you have a family, you get married, and you have children of your own, you may pass that, you may have an albino daughter or son, or you may not because the gene may not be as prevalent. It may be the gene may be there, but it may be in like another generation of Muhammad's down the line.
and that if my children were to have albinism, my husband would need to have the gene as well. So both parents need to have the gene for it to pass down onto the child.
Oh, okay. So both parents need to have that gene to pass that gene down to their son or daughter. One may have it and the other one may not have it, right?
But the
Okay,
child would still have the gene if my husband would not, since I have the gene.
right.
But it's only if both parents has the gene would the child be albino.
Got you. Now, speaking of confident albinos, you brought it up twice today, and I'm glad you keep bringing it up to self-plug yourself, right? And you talked about you put on an event for that you invited the minister. He came and
Mhm.
spoke to the community. I see you out here, having conversations with other brothers and sisters who have albinism. What made you decide to step outside of your comfort zone to do this?
Um, okay, so this will go back a couple years.
Okay.
I was still a teenager. So right now I just turned 24 in April. Um, so a couple years ago when I was 16, my mother, she wanted me to, step out and do something for the community. So they'll went, hey, why not do something like, for the Black community and the albinism community as well, since I'm a Black albino.
Right.
So that kind of started the brainchild of Confident Albino Brothers and Sisters. Um, and before we even got the name, that the name is actually credited to my dad, Brother Anthony Muhammad, or A-Tone,
Yes.
the hip hop historian, as some
Yep.
may know him.
We break dancing at parties.
Yep, yep. Um, so he actually, um, he kind of said it as a joke at first, like, "Hey, why not, call it this?" And then the acronym could be CABS. So,
Your dad is always good for like just throwing it out there to see if it sticks. It's like, you know what? That sounds pretty good, brother Anthony. And then you just go on from there.
definitely,
But go
definitely.
ahead. Right.
And hey, that ended up sticking. It's been a couple years and haven't changed the name. It's the tentative title is now permanent, and um it's like a solidified.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so that was
Okay.
the beginnings of it.
Uh-huh.
um so now I've with the help of my family and my all of my communities, it's been growing and
Right.
in other parts of the world. And when you mentioned Brother Ali, when I mentioned that I have a show, that's what's up with Qiyamah Muhammad. Um, I thought to, interview people and get their stories in the albinism community.
Right.
And I ended up reaching out to Brother Ali, and we got an interview with him. So I guess if there's anyone in the chat who hasn't seen, who doesn't
Right.
know, and they want to learn more about him or anyone else,
Right.
um,
Now, how can people check those particular interviews out? Is it on Instagram? Are they on YouTube? How can people catch up to those interviews?
it's on my YouTube channel, Confident Albino Brothers and Sisters. Um, or you can just look up "That's What's Up" with Qiyamah Muhammad,
Right.
or Qiyamah, for those who don't know how to spell it.
So how did you come up with the title? That's what's up. Like how? Walk us down walk us down the street, walk us through the mall of how you came up with that particular title of your show.
Okay, now it's kind of funny a little bit.
Tell us, let's hear it.
So it was a couple years ago. I was doing a summer job with the Marionberry Summer Youth Employment Program,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on my way home, and I got on the bus. Then these two brothers, they came up on the bus and sat across from me. So I'm like not really, trying to interact with anybody really,
Right.
but they got my attention. One of the brothers, he said, "Are you albino?" And I was like, "Yes." He was like, "Oh, that's what's up." So, and then I told my parents that, and it was like, oh, that could be the name of something.
Right. It could be the name of something, but you added on to it. You made it something from your dad, jokingly saying, "Oh, you should call it confident albinos." And blah blah blah. You're like, okay, it sounds like that may work. Now you're on the bus, and the gentleman say, "Oh, you're albino." You're like, "Yeah, oh, that's what's up." So when you hear people ask you that question, "Are you albino?" Do you do you are you prepared for like the worst of that? Not the worst. Let's say, for instance, when someone asks you, I think the question is, when someone asks you, "Are you albino?" Do you put up a defense mechanism? Does something happen when someone asks you that question because you may get it all the time, and or it's how they ask you? Like, what are the mental and spiritual steps that you go through when someone says, "Hey, are you albino?"
Well, the defense mechanism doesn't come from the question itself, but just interacting with people in general.
Okay.
um, the question itself, it's not a bother to me, and I'm just, they're curious, and I'll answer them because they wouldn't know, which is why they're asking the question in the first place.
Right. Right.
So it may or may not, might end up going into a teaching moment, or just, so answering their curiosity.
Uh-huh. Gotcha. And during that moment, that becomes a teachable moment. Um, when you go through that mode of teaching someone, because I'll say this, it's rare. When I was growing up, I seen, you know, albinos or those who had albinism before. Like I seen it growing up. These days and times, I don't see it as much as I did when I was growing up. And I guess when people see you, they're like, "Hey, are you albino?" Because they may have heard negative things or positive things, and then when they see a person with albinism, that's the first thing they ask. "Hey, are you albino?" But sometimes they do want to ask, "Are you white or black?"
Right.
Right?
Right.
So
Because
when you get that question, "Are you white or black?" What do you say? Like, what is the teachable moment right then and there?
oh, it's funny because I know that when people ask, "Are you albino?" and you said they're really asking, "Are you white or black?"
Right.
Like that question, "Are you albino?" People think that albino is just a synonym for black.
What?
Since we're black people in the community, and they might see other people, so they're like, "Oh, only black people can be albino," and they don't know that other communities, like any other race, can have albinism in
Hmm.
their community. So I just tell them, "Yeah, I'm black and I'm albino."
Right, right. And then after you say, "Yeah, I'm black, I'm albino," what is the facial expression on that person? Do they continue to ask more questions, or do they do what the brother did? "Oh, that's what's up."
It's like a mix of both. Sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, okay, I know someone who has albinism," or my so and so family member is albino. Uh,
Uh-huh.
then of course,
Got you.
most times, um, with strangers and I'm out with my family, they'll either like look at me and be like, "Hey, I know you, aren't you so and so?" And all of that. I'm like, no.
Like, no, like, leave me
And
alone, go away.
like every albino person looks the same to me. That is,
There, like, just like every black person looks the same. Like, it's not, everyone is different, right?
mm-hmm,
Now, let me ask you this question.
mm-hmm,
Um, because big up to albino underscore princess. I believe we'll be having her on the show as well. So thank you, sis, for tapping in as well. Thank you so much. So let me ask you this question. Growing up in Washington, D.C., right? Going to, getting some homeschooling, getting schoolings, schools of thoughts from different places as far as education is concerned, going out into the world, showing your face, being with your family and things of that nature. But growing up as a girl, a young woman, going out into the world with albinism, has anyone had any negative thing to say to you? And if they did, how did you approach that conversation? And how did it make you feel? Like, because these are things I love to know, because we don't know what the average person goes through throughout the day. And then if they're special, such as you are, we don't know what they go through. We just think, oh, you good, you all right, okay. But have you ever faced any negative things about you when it comes to albinism? And how did you get over that hurdle?
So there's like of course, there's a couple instances that come up, but one, when I was really young, me and my brother, we were going to a taekwondo studio called ATA Karate, and the first few days that I was there, I was with this one group. We were, separated into belt colors, and since I was a no belt at the time, I'm this young child, don't know anybody except my brother.
Right.
And now I'm separated from him with all these other children. And one of the girls, she looked at me and she was like, "Are you a monster?"
What?
I was like, no. And then it's like a couple months, she was like, "Yeah, do you remember that?" I was like, "I thought you was a monster." And then, because we ended up actually becoming friends there.
Got you.
Then
Are you a monster? So hearing that question, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't know, if it was because I was albino, or was because I'm albino, or inner workings of a child's mind.
We don't know.
Yeah, that was one prominent moment that in my youth.
Did you want to fight her? Did you get angry? Was you upset? Did you say I'm about to go get my brother? And that's another question I want to ask you too. But before I get to that, were you upset? How did that make you feel? Did you want to fight? Did you want to, did you go back and tell your mom and dad that you didn't want to be albino anymore? That I'm upset that I'm different. I want to be like everyone else. What was the thought process in your mind at the time when that child said that? Are you a monster?
Well, I kind of just filed it away. I don't really have a violent bone in my body, even when I was younger. And
right.
I'm never one for conflict unless someone actually, starts something with me.
Right.
So I just, told my parents, told Assad, and I guess that kind of did start a thought process. I know when I was younger, I would always say "Mom, Dad, what do you think I'd look like if I was, darker skinned, or if I didn't have albinism?" It's I try to imagine myself with darker skin.
Right.
I never could, because I don't know what that would look like. So it's this is all I know.
That's all you know. Right. And since you are the mind of the youth, right? And there's so much techie stuff that's going on in the world today. There's AI, there's this and that, and there's so many things in the tech world that the younger generation are head on or in the know about. When you talk about, I wonder what I would look like with darker color, things of that nature. Have you ever dealt with the AI side of things, just to see, or you're like, you know what, I don't want to deal with that. I'm happy in the skin that I'm in?
I never like touched on the AI stuff.
Mhm.
You know, have a what if situation.
Gotcha.
I'm just, I'm content like this. I'm happy in my skin. It's like, since I can't change it, I might as well, be happy with it.
Yeah, you might as well like love the skin you're in and be happy in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, being a part of the nation, Islam, being a part of the nation, you're getting the teachings, you're getting the lessons, you're getting everything to prepare you and instruct you on womanhood and lifehood and familyhood and things of that nature. Um, are there any other albinos or any other persons in the nation that you have came in contact with that have albinism? And what is that conversation between you two being a part of the nation, listening to each other's stories? Yeah, so have you met anyone in the nation who was part of the albinism community?
I actually have. I met this younger girl. So we in the nation we have this convention, Savior's Day.
Uh-huh.
It can be in different cities, different states, and all that. And this was the kind of second encounter we had. The first time we had seen her with her father, and then my family, we were asking her, it's like, hey, is she albino? Because, we looked similar.
Right, right, right.
But the dad, he kind of denied it at first.
Ah,
Then later on, we kind of like made contact on the internet. I think it was Facebook.
uh-huh.
So then we ended up meeting again, and she was, older, and then she wanted a picture with me, so we took a picture.
Right.
And my family, they went on to talk with the father, and the second person is Sister Monique. I don't know if she's in here right now, but assalamu alaikum if she is. Um, we met at Savior's Day as well, and we got to talking. And she's since she's older than me, that was like a an older sister
Uh-huh.
type situation. Um, and I even got to interview her on my show. Get her side of the story of her life.
Right,
Um,
right.
and now um, I think uh, I think she's in the nation now, or not now, but she's in the nation, and every time that there's a broadcast, my family will be like, "Oh, this is the Monique."
That's what's up. See? That's what's up. That's what's up. And um, let's let's take it to a serious moment real quick. Um, I've of course I've did some research and read articles and things of that nature. There's two articles. There's one article that I read that was pertaining to two brothers who were albino. This was, oh man, probably like late 30s, early 40s, 1930s, 1940s, I believe somewhere around there. And they were identical twins, and they were both albino. They got a job. They were given a job or put in a position to be part of a circus. And they went around the world um, in this circus because of their skin complexion, because they were brothers, they were black brothers, but their skin complexion was different than someone else's, and they got utilized, they got brutalized, they got demonized, they got everything that you can think of negative thrown their way, but the white man used them as money to get money in. That's one article I read. The other article that I read that was very daunting to me, and then you probably can chime in as well and let's have this conversation, is that in Africa, albinos are considered to be cursed people. And if they're chased and hunted down and killed, they get money for that.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that we here who don't have albinism, who want to know more about albinism, like what are those bad things that you've heard that is just daunting to you, that kind of disturbs your spirit? And is there anything that you have done to kind of curb those things when it comes to the albinism brother and sisters?
Um, I've actually heard about both of those stories with the
Mm-hmm.
brothers and the circus. I haven't, really done much research on that particular topic,
Gotcha.
but with um, in Africa, um, I know it's not everywhere in Africa. It's only in certain parts.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard like Tanzania, which is one that might, like, witch doctors might hunt down um, people with albinism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some of the things that I've heard is that, like, if you like have sex with an albino woman, she'll cure you of cancer, or it's a whole bunch of superstitions, um,
Wow.
like pertaining to um, albinos in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, our body parts has magical properties, and if they might um, like do like unspeakable things, really, to um, get um, money, as you said, or
Mm-hmm.
just like any um, just I don't really I don't even know how to like really say, but
Right.
I
It's just
also know on the flip side, in other parts of Africa, albinos are like revered and seen as either equals, or like they might have um, royalty, even like treated like royalty.
right.
Um, so I know it's different cultures, different morals, mindsets, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Wow, wow. Yeah, and that's, just even diving just the surface level of that. Pronoya Starseed podcast, who is Foxy Roxy, she goes, wow, because you don't hear these stories in the news.
mm-hmm,
You hear police brutality here, you hear Trump is doing this, you hear Biden is doing this, you hear that, this person doesn't have any clean water, or that person is doing this, or that person is doing that,
mm-hmm,
but we don't hear about how to protect the albinism community, um, because it's a rarity, right? It's how many albinos are do you have you did the research of how many albinos are in the world, or do you know that particular number?
I think in America it's 1 in 17,000 children that would have albinism.
One
Um,
in 17,000 children will have albinism.
mhm. So I don't
Hmm.
I don't know. That was like way way back then when I saw that number. So of
Uh-huh.
course it might have gone up or down since then.
Wow, wow. And are you surprised when you see another person with albinism? Like, are you be like, oh, that's what's up? Like, let me go talk to them. Like, do you automatically go into that? Oh, let me go talk to them mode, or do you still be in your shy? Or you still be reserved?
It's a mix of both. I'm like, oh, I think I should go talk to them. I might, nudge my mom, or they might direct my attention to them. But then I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Right, right. Like, I don't know. Sister Albino underscore princess says 1 in 20,000. I think she
Mhm.
says that's what she says. I think it's 1 out of 20,000. She
It's like
thinks.
17, 20,000. Like,
Yeah, the number probably is going up as what the sister said is what you're saying. The numbers really don't stay the same. They kind of either they're going to go up or they're going to go down.
hmm
Yesterday I was driving And I stopped at a stop sign, stopped at a stoplight, and walking across the street was a sister who had albinism, right? And I always think about you. I'd be like, Dad, I should stop her and say, hey, you should go to confident albinos _albinos and talk to this sister here. I'd be wanting to do that all the time, but I know I had to find a different. I have to find an approach to approach them with and say, hey, maybe I ask them that question. Hey, do you have albinism? Like, are you albino? Instead of saying, hey, are you black and white? If you're black, man, let's have it. But just seeing that once again, it's a rarity. It's you know I even heard also, and you might have heard this too, that if you see an albino, you make a wish. And I said, what? Like I read that somewhere, and I was just like, what? You make a wish? Like what are we doing? Is it because I don't know, And have you heard that before?
I have not heard that before. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I've read it somewhere a long time ago, and it was just very, like daunting to me too. Like, oh, you say an albino, you make a wish. Like, where are we leading when it comes to our brothers and sisters who have who's blessed with not looking like us? How do we protect the albino community? And I guess that would be my question to you: is how do we protect the albino, the albino or those who have albinism? How do we protect those brothers and sisters? What can we do for those who, as what you put it, like more melanated? Like, how do we do that?
Well, of course, just treat us as normal human beings, first of all, because we're not any different besides the color of our skin or lack of color.
Right.
And it's like if you might see something, try to help them in that situation. And even in like African countries,
Right.
there are safe houses, to help house either like children with albinism who are attacked, or even adults. So it's like if you can find any like charities or anything that's specific to that, it's like at least try to help and give if you are able to.
Got you.
Then it's even in with America, it's like teach your children or teach your siblings, your friends, to just treat people with respect, because that will help people learn and grow to not be a jerk, really.
Right, because there's a lot of jerks out here, so we got it. Yeah, absolutely.
So that would, like, just I guess on the surface level, that would be the basic humane thing to do.
Gotcha. And how can we support you? What is going on with you, Sister Muhammad? What is going on with you? You have any lectures coming up? Are you writing a book? Are you continue on with your show? Are you creating a film? Like, because your mom is a director and a filmmaker, so there's probably some things in the works of that. But let us know what we should be looking forward to when it comes to confident_albinos.
Okay, so we do have a few things in the works. Me and my brother, Asad Muhammad, he's an artist. So me and him were working on a comic book. It's called Nair.
Yes.
It's featuring a black albino female warrior hero. It's like our mindset is we're trying to rival Marvel and DC
right.
in the superhero
fashion.
Genre. So if you want to go and check out like any like updates on that, I think it's on his Instagram, Exigent Comics or Exigent. He's also on Facebook.
Right. So if we follow you, we'll be able to see your brother's page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and I pinned that at the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. You can see at confident_albinos. Just tap that, then tap the link in the bio. Find her brother, and I've seen bits and pieces of the comic strip before, in its earlier stages of what he was trying to do. And brother Assad, man, he is a genius with that pen, and it's I've seen it. It's beautiful. I haven't seen any updated versions of it, but I know it's going to be a great. It's going to be a great time and giving out that information. Yeah.
Like, go ahead and support our work on the comic book. And we're also planning on doing a fashion show
Uh-huh.
either next year or some time. And it's going to feature albino models. And
Ah.
well, of course, we'll have updates on that on Facebook, Confident Albino Brothers and Sisters, or on my personal page, Qiyamah Muhammad,
Uh-huh.
and even on Instagram, confident_albinos.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
um,
Here's a question that was asked in the chat room. Big up to everyone in the chat room. I see you. 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 Strawberry Kiss. I see you. I see Nazara. I see you as well. Let's see who else is in here. Messiah. I believe that is correct. The question was asked from Vanguard Television. Here's the question. Albinos, what are your thoughts on saying albinos versus people with albinism?
so, for those who don't know, Vanguard Television, that's my mama. Um, um, so that might, like, to other people, that might be a controversial topic for some reason. But me personally, I have no problem with the word albino, because if you just look up the definition, it's just a person with albinism. So if you say person with albinism, it's like you're just going the long way around to say albino.
Right.
Because I know, like, people, they see the word albino as a derogatory term because it might have been directed to them with a negative connotation. So in their mind, they'll be like, yeah, that's a slur or an insult, even though that's just technically what we are.
Right. Right.
So it's like, person with albinism or albino, it's like just a personal preference on what you want to be called.
Mm-hmm.
So you can call me albino, person with albinism. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
So of course, if you see a person with albinism, like, it's like, hey, are you comfortable with the word? Because you don't want to
Yeah.
offend anybody, really.
Yeah. You don't. You don't. You don't. And I think that's a great question because sometimes I kind of figure out, should I say albino or albinism? I don't want to make anyone feel a little weird or like, hey, don't call me that, call me this. So like you mentioned, whatever you feel, what are the words you feel comfortable with? Do you feel comfortable by me calling you albino or having albinism? That way we know how to set up the conversation if we're meeting someone who has albinism for the first time. And you may recognize that they have albinism, and then you have a conversation with them. Now you can get into, what are you comfortable with? Do you comfortable with me calling you, having maybe they have another word that they call themselves instead of using albino or albinism. We don't know until we meet that person.
Mm-hmm.
Say it again.
Unless you talk to them.
Yeah, unless you talk to them and you talk to them. And that's what your show is about. Your show is about enlightening, bringing information to the forefront, and getting those and having those brothers and sisters who have albinism onto the show and letting them speak their own truths. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. Any last words? Anything you want to, since this is Salvation Sundays, let's end off like this. Since this is Salvation Sundays, I would love for you to give, an inspirational word to those who do or don't understand those with albinism or those who are in the albino community, what are some encouraging words you can leave us on this Sunday?
So, to the albinism community, I just say, be well. This actually goes out to anyone, but I guess specifically, just be proud of who you are. It's like you can't change it, so why not just be proud of what you look like? Be proud of the fact that you're not like anyone else. In the majority, because
Right.
of course you're gonna find people that look like you, like might talk like you. So it's like see the similarities and know that even though they might look like you, they're not you.
Mm.
So you can, learn, grow, be who you are.
Right.
And to the general audience, just if you see someone with albinism, like I said earlier on, just treat us with the basic human decency. Treat us with respect. It's like, of course, we might look different from you, but that doesn't mean if you touch us, you're gonna catch albinism. It's like it's not contagious. It's just a human trait. So it's a gene, like just like we might, be like a tall or short.
Mm-hmm.
That's a trait.
Yeah, that is a trait. That
So
is a trait.
just know that we're not different. We might have problems seeing, but we're just like anyone else. So
Right, right, like anyone else. And can you disrupt a myth for me before you go? Now, is it when it comes to having albinism and being in the community, when it comes to the brightness of light, like when you go outside, do you have on sunglasses? That's the first question. The other question is that, you know, do you see better at night? Is your vision um, more heightened at night? Because, like I said, in the beginning of this talk of this show, I had a friend named Ben growing up who we played football in the daytime. Ben couldn't see the ball coming to him at all. He couldn't catch it. But at night, he was like pulling them balls down. He was catching them. Touchdown, touchdown. We're like, yo, Ben, what's going on? Explain to us just a little bit of that before I let you go.
so with light, when I had was researching that, I think the term is photophobia,
Mm-hmm.
and it might be a different term. I need to look that up more.
Okay.
But for me personally, I don't wear sunglasses. I probably should, so I don't mess my eyes up even further.
Uh-huh.
And the second question, what was the second question?
And at night,
Oh,
since maybe the sun is hurting your eyes at night in the daytime, but at night, what is the difference then? Where's the differences when it comes to that?
well, since the sun and all of that, all those bright lights aren't shining directly into my eyes, I
Mm-hmm.
can see better. Of course, my family, they might think I can just see in complete pitch black since I don't turn on any lights at all. But even with me, I can't see that better, much better, in
Right.
like like a complete darkness. But it is easier on my eyes. So if it's not like sudden lights, then that won't hurt them.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
So it's like if it's might be gradual or just a chance to adjust
Yeah,
myself.
absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. Okay, okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the platform, sharing your story, letting us know how your entrepreneurial spirit led you to Confident Albinos, and you're doing such a beautiful work in your community, outside of your community, and just educating us because, some of us don't be knowing. And then we do know, we be talking out of ignorance. Like, yeah, I just read that online, and well, you never met anyone who had albinism before. You just saw it online and you just going off, these particular things. So thank you so much for your time here on the show. Thank you so much for giving me, tapping me into other sisters who had albinism and getting them on the show. And I want to say happy International Albinism Awareness Month to you and to your friends who are sharing this beautiful month and experience together.
Yes. So thank you, Uncle Enoch, again for giving me the opportunity. And happy International Albinism Awareness Month. Oh my gosh, I would say what the theme was, but I don't remember.
Maybe someone in the chat will know what the theme is. Let's see here.
Mom, if you remember, you could put it in.
Right. I don't remember either. And she sent that information to me. Maybe she will. If not, this is a whole month. And we're going to have sisters on here who have albinism, who are part of the community, that are going to tell their story too. And then we can get more information. And then at the end of the month, now we have all this information that we can now go into the world with this information and be more courteous, be more friendly, be more attentive to those who are in the albinism community. So thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate your time. Enjoy your Sunday, whatever that is. I don't know if you're eating today or not, or is it next week? I'm not too sure, but thank you so much, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
And good luck on your next shows. I'll be sure to tune in.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to bring your name up and on every show too, because you're the reason why we're doing this, and you're the reason why we have our guest. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. All right. Peace. Mental Salvation Radio. Well, this is episode 60, ladies and gentlemen. This was episode 60. And we are celebrating International Albinism Awareness Month. And that was Sister Qiyamah Muhammad of Confident Albinos. And it is Inclusion is Strength. That is the theme of International Albino Awareness Month. It's inclusion is strength. All right. Ensuring inclusion. So just type in International Albinism Awareness Month. It will lead you to a website, right? It will lead you to a website, and it will give you the themes and what's going on and things of that nature. But also to follow Confident _albinos right now and get more information. You can always go to Vanguard Television as well to see the more exclusive behind the scenes things as well, maybe giving more information on albinism and things of that nature too. So thank y'all so much. Big up to everyone who was in the chat room. I think I shouted out everybody in here, but let's do it again. Big up to Jay Robinson, Sin Blessed. Let's see, Monique is in here. Big up to Aunt _Sydney 411. Big up to you. Big up to Sherry. Big up to Foxy Roxy of Prenoia Starseed Podcast. Let's see, Albino _Princess. Thank you. Push for Love was in here. Big up to you. Ekbar 1930. Mazar. Thank you for tuning in. Big up to Natasha _Motivation Matters. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Real Zemo. I believe I'm saying your name correctly. If not, I apologize. Big up to Total 615 who tapped in. Who else is in here? Big up to, is that Pear Sun Investments Group, LLC? Thank you. Big Bailey. Big up, Big Bailey. What up? What up? What up? Nazir. Big up to you. Strawberry Kiss. Thank you for tuning in. Intervision _of Indivision Sun Ra _Ricks. Thank you for tuning in as well, man. It's been a great show. Big up to Spirit Within. Thank you for tuning in. Big up to Jex.host. Thank you for tuning in as well. And that's it. That's it. Until next Sunday, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to continue this conversation next Sunday, celebrating International Albinism Awareness Month. My name is Enoch 7 Prophet. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And we're going to go out with some piano jazz. Keeping on some Sunday vibe, right? Enjoy y'all Sunday. As I always say here on Salvation Sundays, the sun will always still shines, no matter how cloudy and gloomy it appears to be. The sun will always still shines. Until next time.